Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab, where our goal is to have conversations that empower healthy churches. We hope you are doing well, and we thank you for taking some time today to listen to our conversation that we're having today with Katie Allred. Now, Katie is a marketer, social media strategist, professor, a number of other things, and she's an expert in online communities for nonprofits, churches, businesses of all sizes. And her passion lies in helping, especially other church leaders, effectively communicate their message online. She's the founder of churchcommunications.com, something I'm sure many of you are familiar with, where she helps over 30,000 churches with their marketing, branding. She holds a degree in computer information systems, as well as a master's in web design and online communication. Katie, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
That was a mouthful.
Did I do okay though?
I need to stop doing this.
I hope I got it. Did I get everything?
You got it right,
okay,
for sure. But then I realized after you read it that I'm like, wow, I need to take a break.
Yeah. I find that that's like a fairly common response people have. Like when you hear it out loud, it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot on the list there.
I should probably take a nap.
Yes.
Like that's what it sounds like,
You've well earned it, I think. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in my 33rd year, so I'm trying to act more like Jesus, and Jesus took some naps. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I think after this, because you're not doing it real time, but you're kind of speaking to the crowds right now. And so after that,
everyone go take a nap.
After that, you retreat. Yeah. Get alone, take a nap. Well, yeah, I love it. Well, I'm excited today to dive into all things communications and talk about that. But before we do, one thing we ask everybody on the show, there's the public bio, which obviously we just read. But there's always something that doesn't make the public bio that all your friends and family would know about you. So what is that for you?
I won my school spelling bee.
All right. I need to hear some more information about this. What age, what grade are we talking about?
I was in 6th grade and my school is K through 12, but only 5th grade through 8th grade, I guess, competed in the school spelling bee. I think that was how, maybe it was 4th grade, 3rd grade. Anywho, and I won the spelling bee. I did not win a district or state, but I did win my school.
I feel like that's the age where you're getting some tough ones thrown at you. Do you remember what the winning word was?
Yeah, it was glitz, which really isn't that hard of a word.
There's like a 40% chance I could spell that correctly right now. So I feel like that's a lot of credit for sixth grade Katie.
12-year-old Katie was really thriving. Yeah. So I don't know. I was an overly academic child for sure.
Okay. Well, if we have any issues with spelling words this episode, I feel a lot safer that we're going to be fine.
I can't wait to spell some things out for you. I love watching the Scripps Spelling Bee on ESPN every year.
That makes me nervous because I have a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So I just see these kids and I'm just sort of just up there all nervous and verklempt. And I'm like, somebody give them a hug. So.
Yeah, no, I was that kid and I wanted to be that kid. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. You know the route. All right.
Thrive under pressure.
Well, it's a bit of a segue to talk about spelling and go into communication. So I feel like that works really well.
Yeah. They're similar.
It's very similar. So I want to jump in here. Now, I know that you've been involved in communications, especially church communications, for a long time. What have been some of the most significant shifts that you've seen, especially over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, as digital has really become just the way we live?
I think short form video is probably the biggest shift that I've seen. I think social media went from funny memes, trying to create engaging content to creating content that made you think. I think that we have shifted from information to engaging to interactivity. and then also like to personalities in a way. And so, you know, if your church isn't doing like TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever, I think it's easy to get behind in those kind of ways. But I mean, it's one thing to just put your sermons on there and cut those up, but it's another thing to have another person actually like actively engaging with the community and answering people's questions and stuff via the platform.
How does that like help somebody who just heard that and is like, I'm not really doing that. We're mostly just using sermon content, right? And announcements is essentially the feed,
which isn't bad. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't want to say like, oh, that's a terrible strategy. Like, it's not. Like, you're doing a great job. So hear me when I say that. I'm just saying that, you know, if you have the ability to create this content that's outside of that mold, I think that's a great way to go. I think that's a great way to like get started, is to just start answering those questions that are probably coming in via your sermon content regardless. Like, so there's probably some kind of content of like, but why this, or where did that come from? Or like, I don't understand the word Ebenezer.
Yeah.
Would you tell me more about that? You know? Or even like, so like you can even break down a worship song. Like say you have a clip of a worship song you did on Sunday of the Here I Raise My Ebenezer or whatever come out. You can break that down verse by verse and kind of talk through it via short clips and stuff, instead of necessarily feeling like we've got to put it all out via text content or not at all. And so I think that's just a different, like, innovative way. I feel like that's what shifted so much, is that short form video. Yeah. You know, gosh, in 2010, I would have told you need to write a lot of blogs.
Yeah.
You know, and not that you shouldn't write blogs. I think that's still important for like SEO value, for like search engines to find you with certain keywords. I don't think that's not important, but I really have seen the shift from like blogs to long form video, like YouTube, to short form video today.
Yeah. And I think too, like you brought up something interesting to where, let's take the Ebenezer analogy, right? So even instead of, well, we have our live stream, it's on YouTube, I could just take it, chop that out and put it, like, yes, you could do that. But I know, especially in like content repurposing, not necessarily taking just what I did on this platform and putting it on that platform is necessarily the best move versus, you know,
creating it for that.
Tell the worship person or whoever's the worship leader, worship pastor, whoever did the thing,
to take a selfie video.
Exactly. Yes.
What an Ebenezer
is. You know, hey, we talked about this Sunday, and you know, I think that's but then it's, again, you're not creating that new.
Or even if it's like that quick clip of the here I raise my Ebenezer or whatever, and then like you cut over to the worship leader. Okay, what does that mean? You know? Like, let's talk about it, because I guarantee you there's so many things we say in church words that people have no idea what they mean. You know, I think I like had sing that song a million times. It was like hymn 13 and 15 in the Southern Baptist Hymnal. Do you like that? I knew the numbers.
That's impressive.
You know,
that's impressive.
There's two different versions.
I've also taught what the Ebenezer is like 10 times because I was been a worship pastor. So this analogy.
Yeah, I used to think it was like a rod or a staff, and that's not.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like a stack of rocks, or like you're building a monument, essentially,
a memorial to, and it's referencing
a moment
in Samuel where God was faithful, and so they built this memorial, which was the Ebenezer stone.
Right. Yeah. See, and look, now we're done. That's a great clip that people can use across the internet to explain Ebenezer.
In fact, you could just use ours doing it.
Yeah, just use that clip. That's easy enough. And then somebody's probably going to be like, okay, but like, why is that important? And so you can continue, like, you can have people create your content for you, essentially. I mean, they're not creating it, but they're at least like helping you get to where you need to go next, which is really nice.
No, I think that's super, super practical. I think that mental shift too around, and it doesn't have to be like complex. Like, again, the phones that most of us have in our pocket have unbelievable ability to capture this content, and you don't need lights, you don't need a DSLR and all of that. You just simply need to maybe have a mindset shift. So
yeah, for sure. I think just being willing is probably more than anything.
Yeah. Now, as you have worked with churches and seen so much church communication in the past, where have you seen that churches tend to go wrong in like crafting a communication strategy?
By not having one.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I think it's probably like 90%. This is a stat I'm totally making up, but maybe it's a Pareto principle. It's like 80% of churches, probably more than that, probably 90% of churches. It's some like ridiculous amount of like small businesses don't have a marketing plan.
Yeah.
Like, even large corporations don't have them, like have communications plans or marketing plans or crisis communication plans, something like that. Most of the time it's very reactive and not very proactive. So most communication teams, if you are a team or if you're just one person or you're the admin who also happens to do this, or the worship director, and you happen to do this as well, most of the time you're reacting to what is being given to you via post-it note on Thursday afternoon. Like, you're having to be reactive. So I think most churches struggle with actually just even forming a plan to begin with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's probably it, like being more proactive.
Yeah. And I think that reactive piece tends to become life in ministry. If you're not aware, and if you don't work to really prevent that, and then it's just one thing after another, like another week, like the phrase "Sunday's always coming" is there, but
and then you're really burning people out.
Yeah, and you're never stepping out to get your head kind of above the clouds to see where are we going, what are we doing, and
right, are we even headed towards our mission?
Exactly.
Are we just maintaining?
Yep. Yeah, and it's no different with communication. So where should a church start then?
Well, I wrote a book.
Perfect.
So
step one, get Katie's book.
There's the book. Here it is. Church Communications Methods of Marketing. I love it. That's where all my it's not very thick, so I like to tell people, like, I dumped my brain in there, and I'm like, it's a pretty small brain. So like, just accept it for what it is. But yeah, so there's that. But like, really, if you're getting started, I think the best place to start is with your people. So I think like surveying your people, like getting some kind of just like knowledge of who your people are, their demographic information, what they like. Do they prefer email? Do they prefer text messages? Do they prefer social media? Just some like really basic marketing information. And there's so many surveys out there. We've got some at churchcommunications.com that you can download. You can ask in the Facebook group too. People share their surveys with you. But I think just starting with a congregational survey of communication questions is just a great way to get started making a plan, because I don't feel like you can go forward without knowing where you've been. So let's do that. But then I think too, like knowing, yes, your congregation matters, but so does the community around you. So getting that kind of information as well, like the demographical information of the community around you, if you can get that kind of research. There's a few different ways you can go about doing that, but just getting a basic understanding of your community and what their needs are and how that might be shifting and how that compares to your church. Yeah. Because I think that'll kind of tell you if you're growing or stagnant or what. And then with that, you can start building a strategy of like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities, your threats? And then, your lovely SWOT statement. And then it kind of work from there to build a communication calendar of like what's coming up, because it's always such a surprise when Christmas comes every year.
Right.
And again, like maybe you just start celebrating, or not celebrating, but planning for that in today, like August, right? Or if not sooner, right? Probably July. Yep. So I think there's a lot of things churches can do to be proactive that are a lot simpler. I think it seems overwhelming at first, but I don't think it has to be. I really think it can be as simple as doing a survey, taking that survey and using the information to build a plan that works for your church. Like, if you find out from the survey, like, nobody uses Twitter, but y'all been tweeting every day, or X, excuse me. Now, the new platform.
How
X,
do you, what is the action? Like, are you, I don't know how to, it was easy to say tweeting. Are you like,
you X people?
I'm Xing, I guess.
That sounds bad though. Like, it sounds like,
like we're done.
Out. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know. It's whatever. Elon, don't take our word for it. We don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, it's not for me. But anyways, if you find out that that's not where the people are, they're all of a sudden all on LinkedIn. If that's where your people are, then you should be on LinkedIn. I think it's like a good way to find out like what is actually worth your time, and then take like an audit of what you're doing. Are people, and ask that in the communication survey too, like, do you like receiving the bulletin every week, or would you prefer having a monthly calendar? Like, would you prefer, what's your preferences kind of for how we communicate with you? Well,
and that's what I think is so interesting is like, we often will just jump into, well, I see this church doing that, or like, I see these are the platforms that these churches that maybe are the examples that you look to that they're on. So we should do that too. And now you start running and you're putting all this energy into your Instagram reel presence, and your people are like, what's Instagram? And, versus the fact that actually like a weekly email, one email sent a week might be the most impactful way to communicate things, or whatever it might be. But sometimes we don't jump to it. We don't ask, what's going to serve you, rather than here's what we're doing, come and jump on board.
Right. And I mean, to be honest, like, you might get some pushback too of like, well, I love the bulletin, even though I'm not reading it, or something like that. There may be that as well, but it's a good place to at least get started and get those responses and some opinions in, and see, what people are wondering or how they are feeling about certain things, because you might find that you've been spending 10 hours on creating a bulletin every week and nobody reads it and nobody wants it anyway. So a link tree or something would have served you just as well, which is insane, right? Like, a link tree for a lot of churches is what most churches need. It's just like a list of links to sign up for things. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know that people need a whole lot more sometimes, but I think that we've gotten used to doing things a certain way, and maybe going a little over the top, that we, have just thought too hard about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's even if this, part of our conversation is just a good reminder to church leaders, the best communication method is the one that works for your people. And so run with that one. And the goal is not like to win the church communication, best church communication of the year award. That's a nice accolade. I don't know if you're handing that out at all.
We're not handing that out right now, but we might next year. So if you want to win that best bulletin award, we can't wait to see you.
But the goal is obviously not that, but we want to connect with our people, get people engaged, next steps, all of that. So, Well, one of the things that I know is impacting not only church communications, but I mean, the whole world pretty much is AI, and there's a lot happening. There's tons of speed to it. There's some amazing tools. There's some scary tools. There's all sorts of stuff. So what are some, for you, what have you seen as some of the immediate applications with AI that can positively impact communication in the church?
Yeah, something I'm really enjoying is like, you can take your sermon and upload it to like otter.ai and get a transcript of it fairly quickly. And then you can take that transcript and put it into Chat GPT and ask it to make a summary or write a blog post or make this into a LinkedIn post or a series of LinkedIn posts or a series of emails.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, write 10 questions for a small group to discuss this sermon.
Yeah.
Which used to take hours of time.
A long time.
And now you can get it in like 5 seconds. It's kind of ridiculous. And then you could even say, create a short podcast based on this sermon. You can copy and paste that into some kind of AI voice generator, and you can generate a podcast in your voice, which is what we're doing right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Boop, beep, boop. Beep.
Well, it's kind of insane. Like, I used it actually. So the Church Communications podcast is coming out this fall, and I used it for the ads. So if you go and listen to it this fall, it hasn't come out yet. Sometime in September, October. If you listen to it and you listen to the ads, it's actually me. AI me. So awesome. I just wanted you to know that you can hear AI me if you would like. And it is trippy because it's me, but it's not me. And that is confusing for everyone. But also scary because, like, obviously, like you were saying, like, there are some bad uses of AI. And I think one of them is the voice thing. Because, like, it could also call my mother and panic her immediately.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've thought about how, and the thing is, like, there's no way for me to prevent it. I could have said, oh, well, I'll just never put my voice into one of those AI things and it won't do that. People can download my voice off of video. Like, it only needs 30 seconds of my voice. And I'm sorry, but hardly anybody hasn't been recorded for something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really hard to not find that. And so it is scary for, like, even pastors, right? Because even pastors can have voice generated AI things saying things that aren't true or what they didn't say. And so, I mean, there's a world that's really great, I think, where we can really create this really creative, awesome stuff using it. And then there's a world that's a little dark. And so, but that's the thing with any tool, right? Like any tool, you know, a wheelbarrow can carry bricks, but it could also carry something else. And so I think at the same time, you just got to think about what you're doing, how you're using it. And it's good and bad. I don't want to scare people. I don't think it's happening, you know, so we can't stop it.
Right. And I think we talked to Jason Thacker, who does a lot of research and thought around technology, digital life, AI, all of that. And one of the things he talks about, kind of some of the wisdom is being prayerful and going slow. And so I think there's some of it to where you can start to experiment and you know, start to see what are some ways to do this, but to do that with wisdom and, you know, and prayerfully, and to think about, okay, is this helpful? Is it not? How is this, you know, honoring the person that God's created and whoever's creating this thing, like, you know, all of that stuff. But it is an interesting world to navigate. That's for sure.
Yeah. I actually just use Midjourney. Have you ever played with Midjourney?
Yes. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen all sorts of things.
You've seen someone do it. You should be dabbling. It's interesting. I was really, I still don't think I'm great at it. Like, I bought like a course because I was like, I don't understand this. Like, and I'm usually pretty good at figuring out tech stuff. So I was like, why am I so bad at this? I feel like I'm pretty good at Chad GPT now. I can pretty much give it and make it do what I want to do. But like, with Midjourney, I was having a hard time, but I used it to generate some graphics for like solving the church communications puzzle. It's a talk I'm giving next week at a conference. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, it came up with some church puzzles, you know? So that was really neat. I don't know. So I was like, this is good. It's not bad necessarily. I think it's great that it can generate this kind of imagery for us, because I do think it opens up a wider world of, I don't know. It's not representation is not the right word, but just imagination. Maybe. Yeah.
And I think that one thing too, that, and this goes beyond AI tools, but it can venture into other software tools that allow for editing photos, like web-based, creating graphics easily through a web browser versus
the Photoshop AI stuff is ridiculous. If you haven't seen videos on that, have you seen videos on it? Like you can just like swipe an area and be like, add a shark, and it'll just be like shark.
It's
like, what? Like remove this plate. Okay, removed. Like whereas before that would take you hours. Like I would have to crop out a shark and put it over and all this stuff. Insane.
It is. It's wild, but I think that it also.
Kids don't know how good they have it these days.
I know kids these days don't realize. I used to have to know how to spell words, and now spell check.
I know now you have to spell check. Also, I used to have to do destructive editing in Photoshop. Not anymore. Now non-destructive, and I don't know what to do with that.
I know. Nasty. I feel like Adobe owes you some answers.
Adobe, you traumatized me at an early age. Young age of 10 when I was using Photoshop Elements 2.0.
Yeah. They owe you a bit of an apology, you and probably a lot of other people. But one of the things I think like that is interesting is how like it can actually make things doable for a pastor or a church leader who's like,
for like most people.
I have zero design background. I don't know how to do this. I'm not a professional, but I need something for my email this week. And so I can either I can download something quickly. I can go make something quick, that sort of thing too. It may not be AI, but I think can really be helpful, for church leaders.
Well, I think AI is getting there. I don't think it's quite there yet. Like, I don't think you can like give it a PDF, like give it a Word doc and be like, make me a book.
Right.
I don't think it can like take that quite yet, but I do think it is almost like, I think it's getting there. I think in the next 5 years, we'll see it get there, which is insane, right? I can just like be like, upload it in InDesign. Okay. Like design my book and like, okay, it's done. Yeah. And then I'm going to be like so mad for the fact that I spent hours of class of InDesign learning how to correctly format things.
It'll be another apology Adobe owes you.
Yeah, so they owe me so much money. Like, I don't know. What's that thing they say whenever, like, they owe you some money because of the pain they caused you? Anyway.
It's like emotional distress or something?
Yeah, emotional distress. I can't remember, but I'm going to feel like that. I feel like in Mean Girls when Regina, like, who has been harassed by Regina George? And I'm like, it's me.
Like, hands up.
Yeah.
I think, just so you know, I think that's the first Mean Girls reference on the podcast.
Excellent. I'm glad to have done that. I will try to drop some more.
I appreciate it. I welcome it. It's welcomed here. All right. I want to talk about the conference you all have coming up here in September. So Church Communications, you guys have a conference. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's going to be going on? Where's it at? What can people expect? How can they sign up?
Yeah, Scott, you should be coming. What are you doing?
I am working on it. Yes.
As you should be.
I want to be there.
Should be. So the Church Communications Conference, thanks for asking. It's churchcommunications.com/conference. It is happening September 21st, 22nd, I believe. Don't hold me to it. Sometimes September is the last week. I don't know. I'm bad with dates, okay?
We'll put the link in the show notes and it'll be
don't worry. It's at the end of September. You'll see it. But you should come because we're going to talk about the next era of church communication. The thing is, like we just talked about at the beginning, like so much has shifted in the last 5 years. And we have experts from a lot of different fields will be there presenting on what they know best. And some of that will be around AI and some of that will be around just different topics, but also like some basic stuff too, like project management and how to get started. I think all of those things will be really important. It's in Franklin, Tennessee, which is pretty much right out my window. And if you haven't ever visited Franklin, Tennessee, it's right outside of Nashville. It's about 30 minutes south of Nashville. So you'll fly into Nashville. But it is a beautiful, lovely little city, and it is very quaint, and everybody is so nice, and everyone loves it. So yeah, please come visit us, have some lovely coffee. We're going to have donuts. We're going to have hot chicken. We're going to have all the things that makes a church gathering a church gathering. Therefore, you should come and hang out and just
coffee and chicken sandwiches are like, I think they'll be there in the Feast of Heaven. I'm pretty sure.
And the Feast of the Lamb is definitely going to have some donuts, like warm donuts, and some sandwiches and hot chicken, and it's just going to be lovely. And I'm excited.
Me too. Hopefully, but it'll be after the conference so that people can make it to the conference. Though we want to make sure to get that in.
Well, I mean, whatever comes first.
Either way,
that's fine.
Either way, we're getting donuts and coffee, and hot chicken. So, yeah.
It's not a problem.
Well, that's awesome. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes so that people can sign up for that, check that out, and be there.
Come join us. Do it quick because I mean it's coming up very quickly. So if you want to come join us, there's still room, but we are almost at capacity. So please do sign up.
Awesome. Well, one thing, Katie, that we ask everyone who's on our show, again, the goal is conversations to empower healthy churches. So we'd love to ask this question. In your opinion, what is one essential component of a healthy church?
I'm really glad I didn't like super look at these questions before. And I'm really glad I didn't because off the cuff, my immediate reaction was communicate. Well, not communication, community. Like that at the end of the day, it's about the people. It doesn't matter. The rest of it doesn't matter. The rest of it's fun. The rest of it's the icing on the cake, but the people are are what matters at the end of it. And so if the community is not there, if people don't care about each other, like that's not a church anymore. So it's got to be people who are interconnected, that care about one another, that are there for each other and support one another as the family of Christ should be.
That's awesome. Well said. All right, let's jump into our last little section, the final 5. These are a little rapid fire. First one.
Let's do it.
First one is, what is one book you'd recommend to church leaders? And I recommended for you that they read your book. So you can double down on that, or you can do a new one.
I can double down on my own book. That would be fun. Okay, well, I mean, you should read my book if you want to. That's not a requirement. I mean, it sounds like fun, so maybe you should do it. You know what? I'm gonna go with a spicy take here and give you Katie Cole's book, Developing Female Leaders in the Church. And it's a wonderful book about navigating the minefields and releasing the potential of women in your church.
Love it.
Lovely book, a lovely human being, Katie Cole. And she's a champion for women, and I really enjoy it. So that would be my recommendation. Regardless of what your theology is, I don't think she goes there, but she does help explain how you can help elevate women.
It's awesome. And we'll certainly link to that so people can check that out. All right, what's the last thing that you listened to, whether it was Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you listen to music on?
Ooh, I am on Spotify. Let's see what I have open here.
This is my favorite when it's real time.
Okay. I was listening to Charlie Puth.
Yeah, all right. I like it.
So I saw him in concert a couple months ago, and it was incredible. It's funny because I wasn't a huge Charlie Puth fan to begin with, but because of the concert, I really got into him.
That'll do that. Sometimes, it's oh yeah, this person, I kind of know of him, but then the concert wins you over.
Yeah, he's amazing on TikTok. I mean, he has perfect pitch or whatever, so it's kind of interesting to hear him come up with stuff. But him in person was incredible. So highly recommend Charlie.
Love it. All right. What is your favorite piece of technology? And we have one little rule: you can't say your phone. Oh,
well, I would definitely say my computer still. I mean, is that allowed?
For sure. Yeah. It's your answer.
Outside of my computer would be my convection oven.
I love it.
Or my air fryer. Yeah. I don't know. I really love my air fryer.
Let's go to the air fryer. We have.
Okay, the air fryer is great because you can cook things so much quicker. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a convection oven, actually. So I love my convection oven and my air fryer. They're about the same thing. But we had somebody say they're iRobot vacuum. So I always like the ones that it's there's some immediate practical use. You know what I mean? It's good. Yeah, no, that's fair.
All right. What is a quote or a piece of advice that stuck with you over the years?
Do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long.
Ooh, I like that.
And that was from Coach Littleton, who was my history teacher at Isabella High School in Maplesville, Alabama. So, but he used to always say, I think I can remember him saying it. We were cleaning a bus. Like, why were we cleaning a bus during history class?
That's the bigger question.
It was 90 degrees outside, and we were over here sweeping a bus. Anyway, I wasn't in trouble. We were just being forced to do child labor. I don't know. Anyways, Coach Littleton's retired, so it's fine. But it's funny because this was 2007, so a different time. But I can remember him just yelling that, Allred, make sure you do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long. Because if you're doing it right, you only have to do it once. But if you're doing it wrong, you're end up going to have to do it again and again because you didn't do it right the first time.
It's well said.
So
well said.
It's in my book, actually. I think that quote's in my book somewhere.
That's amazing. You never know the too when you're talking to somebody. I'm sure wasn't sitting there thinking this is going to stick with Katie forever. It
is, yeah. when she sweeps that bus, it's really kind of.
When she starts her bus sweeping business, this is really going to take her.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. When I get into bus sweeping, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm in. Let me know. All right. Last one. One thing that you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders.
I think you can have the fanciest tools and you can do the most complex methods, but none of it really matters without the community and without the communication of the gospel and what it is. And really seeing each other and seeing each other's needs and meeting people where they're at. I think we can come up with so many good things. We can talk all day about Chad GPT and that, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if somebody down the street is hurting, we're not answering that need because that's the whole point.
Well said. That's a really good note to end on. Can you just remind people, I think you said it, but it's churchcommunications.com. Is that the best place for people to connect with you, learn what's going on, get to the conference?
Yeah, churchcommunications.com is a great place to find me. You can also find me at katieallred.com. You can find me at KatieJAllred on Instagram. And connect.
That Katie Allred got to Instagram. That other Katie Allred got to it a little sooner.
Yeah, I think I probably could have gotten to it sooner, but I think I was very gung-ho about the J part of my name for a while because I heard that people thought you were more successful if you included your middle initial.
Yeah. It's like authors who just have their first two initials,
Right. So I should have maybe published my book under KJ Allred.
Yeah.
What was I doing? It's like JK, but KJ.
Exactly. Yeah. The next one. Yeah.
Next time.
Well, Katie, thanks for taking the time to speak to our audience, to share your wisdom, for us to share some laughs. I appreciate it. And we appreciate the work you have been doing, that you're continuing to do, just because you are helping so many churches to do something that may not come natural, but is so essential today in communicating and doing that well. So really appreciate your time. And thank you for those of you listening, watching to this. Really appreciate it. We'd invite you to subscribe, to like, to leave a review. That's super helpful for us as well. And even maybe to share this episode with somebody who might benefit from it. Because again, our goal is to help as many church leaders as we can and empower as many healthy churches as we can. So we hope that this helped, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.